Here it is.
So I'm here today at the E-Women's Network. I was speaking for the E-Women here in West LA, and I was speaking about the Back 40. And my talk was the Back 40, life's radical second half for badass businesswomen. And in the middle of my talk, I was speaking about midlife and midlife crisis specifically in that wording. And one of the philosophies of the Back 40 and our programs is that it's actually midlife opportunity. And it's actually a wake-up call for what you came here to do. And I'm standing here with Norma Yaeger, and Norma was at one of the tables, and she raised her hand. She said, "I believe in that." And I just wanted to chat with you a little bit, Norma, about what had you respond that way. What's your belief about that?
Well, you know, I had a very poor marriage. Initially, I got married, had 3 children, and was a homemaker. And my husband lost his job, and it became necessary for me to go to work. Now, I had been married very young, and I had no career in mind. And suddenly, an opportunity opened for me to join a training group in the stock market, which I loved. I used to go watch the ticker tapes, and my schooling was in math, and I loved the stock market. And here was an opportunity. They were hiring people for a training program with one of the major brokerage firms in New York. Well, I interviewed, and to make a long story short, they hired me. We argued about equal pay, and I got it because I told them I was going to do the same job. Anyway, you have to negotiate your job. But my marriage was not getting better because now my husband felt that I castrated him, and I was going to make more money than he's ever made. And so we had a very poor marriage, and I finally got the gumption, and it took me a long time to divorce. I divorced this gentleman, and I met my present husband, who's a doctor. He wanted to move to California. So in 1972, in the middle of my career, I moved to California and started the second half of a much better life.
Well,
how about that?
Yeah, I love that. And I want to dig in a little bit more then. So you're saying you were in your 40s,
Yes.
and that's when you actually went to get on to be trained.
No. I was training in 1962. I was 32 years old.
32. Okay, got it.
32.
And then you became, and I don't know if you may have mentioned this, but you were the first woman
To be able to walk on the floor. I was the first female stockbroker that was permitted to work on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Women were not permitted to do so at that time.
Got it.
They never had a woman there. So I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity.
Right. And then you went through, again, what a lot of people would call midlife crisis, which was, I know you were turned on about it, but it may have occurred in the beginning like, oh, I got to go to work because my husband's not, right? And, you know, so then you go to work, then you go through a divorce. Raising three children.
Yeah.
And then you go through a divorce.
I became very successful as a stockbroker. And then I divorced and came to California, and then I opened a stock brokerage firm myself. My firm was Yaeger Securities.
Yeah.
And then when the affirmative action law bill was passed in 1989, I opened a second firm, Yaeger Capital Markets, so I had 2 brokerage firms running at the same time. And I finally was able to sell a very successful business, Yaeger Capital Markets, and retired.
Wow. So you really represent that it's that stuff that happens in midlife that's really the fuel for what you came here to do.
Well, you have to learn to overcome the fear of making changes, the fear of getting the divorce. That was very frightening to me.
Yeah.
To get a divorce was frightening.
Well, in those days, it wasn't
Absolutely.
as common at all.
No, and family, of course, was negative about it. You know, they get on your own. No, you can't do that. You have 3 children. What are you going to do? I said, I can't live with the man anymore. I lived with him 20 years before my divorce. And it's frightening. It was a very difficult thing to do, but you've got to face your fear and move forward. That's the whole trick of life.
Yeah. Tell me, when you were 32 and you were in your 30s, you had other women friends who were homemakers.
No women worked in my environment.
Well, that's well, no, but I'm saying, if all this hadn't happened, where might you, in other words, if
Probably would have killed my husband and I would have been in jail.
My point being is that there's other people who may have stayed in the marriages, or they would have, they didn't face the fears the way you did. But something about your courage and your, like, taking on, like, what life could be after this got you to where you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And can you tell us about your book?
Well, my book tells the story, just as I'm telling you, how I started, what I went through in the marriage, and why I went for the divorce, and how successful I became in breaking down the walls for women in the financial industry.
Yeah.
Women today are all over the place. They are commentators. They are on the floor of the exchange. They are stockbrokers. They are analysts, and so on. That was not the case in my time. We couldn't even get a bank loan. We couldn't open bank accounts or stock accounts. They didn't permit women to do that. So I was breaking down walls for women, not knowingly. I mean, I didn't knowing that I'm going to do that. But I needed a loan. I needed a bank account. I was getting a divorce. So you have to learn to go forward, even though it's not the custom, and even though people didn't do it. You have to face the reality that you have to do this thing and not be afraid of it.
How would you rate your first half of life, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10? We'll edit that.
Well, my first, don't forget I had 3 lovely children, so
Right.
I don't want to put that down.
No, of
either.
course.
So I would say probably a 3 or 4.
Okay, and how would you rate the second half of life, like over 40, 50?
A 10.
10, yeah. You're in love. You
business.
open businesses.
I was partially successful in certain businesses. I opened a lot of other businesses.
Yeah.
The book tells you about the others as well. They were not all winners. They had losers too.
Yeah.
And you got to face the fear of loss. So what if you lose?
Yeah.
What's so terrible?
Yeah.
You're not dying, so you might as well try again.
So breaking down the walls is what you're about. Thank you for talking with us to really embody and represent what people who take on midlife as an opportunity, all the stuff that happens as an opportunity to really ignite a really playful, passionate, purposeful second half. And you really demonstrate playful, passionate, and purposeful.
Now I got to see what else I have to do. I'm 86 years old, and now I have to find something new. So they are making a movie of my book.
Are they?
So I am the consultant on the movie and one of the producers, so I'm excited.
And what you really represent, more than anything else, is our flagship statement is that you have yet to do what you came here to do. Even at 86, Norma Yaeger has yet to do what she came here to do. Thank you for sharing with us.
You're welcome.